Hello, Beth. Hi.
Hi, Waad. Nice to see you.
Very nice to see you. It's been really long time since Heartland. Yeah.
Too long, too long.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. But
yeah.
I was actually really following what you're doing, receiving the emails. I loved so much that you keep updating us all what's going on because I think it's really amazing to see, like your journey and what you're doing with the film. It's really important.
Well, thank you. I think, you hold a very special place in my heart, Waad, because when we met, I was familiar with your work before we met. And so when I realized that it was you, it was really very exciting for me. And you had no idea how much of your work influenced my work. And so that was just such a special moment to actually be able to share with somebody that I respected so much, uh, how your intense courage and bravery that I felt, that we all felt, I think, in Forsama was such an inspiration to me to be fearless about what it is that I needed to do moving forward with how we went about filming Unbroken.
Yeah, I mean, like I meet people, usually they tell you, or like, you can see them, you can see that in their eyes, in the way how they speak. It's really, like they got emotional because of Forsama. But
Mhm.
when I met you, like I felt that, but I was not like when I watched Unbroken, I was like, oh my God, yeah, I wish I've seen it before even we meet. I know it wasn't ready at that time, but it was really I don't know, like, but I can say to you that the same feelings you had, I had the same to you. After
Oh,
I've seen the film, I felt I know you. I felt so connected. Um, it's just really an amazing like film, and I'm so happy even to know I've played really small role in what you were thinking about when you were editing the film. But I have so many questions, so I don't think we can even address all of them now. But I really want to know, like, when did you decide to do the film? Like I know we've seen many things, and you've said it yourself in the story, but like I want to go with you backward. Like when did you decide to see, like, okay, I'm gonna do this. It's a film.
yes, yes. I mean, there was a very specific and defining moment when I made this very sacred vow to myself to make the film, to do whatever I had to do to make it and not stop. And the vow was important because I'd never made a film before. This is my first movie. So that moment was in 2017. My mother wanted to go back to Germany to visit it for the first time. And my sister and I accompanied her. And we went to the town of her hiding, the town of Voreen, which is 60 kilometers east of Berlin. And we were meeting with the town historians who had a surprise for us. They were our hosts, and they surprised us by inviting a descendant of Arthur and Paula Schmidt, the farmers who hid mom and her siblings for 2 years.
Yeah.
This descendant came to meet us. And this was truly one of those watershed moments where I kind of looked to my left and I looked to my right and I said, "Where's the film crew? This is just insane." So as he and I got to know each other and I learned more about his life and his tremendous pacifism, he is a true pacifist. And when we started talking about that and what that means, or at least what that meant in 2017, I just felt that it was incumbent upon me to tell the story through the lens not only of the Weber family, but also of the Schmidt family, and to honor the Schmidts and to honor and discover all of the many upstanders along the way in Germany who enabled their survival. Because there's no question that what the Schmidts did for my mother and her family was remarkable. But there also had to be so many other things to go right in order for them to survive. And so that was the day that I made the decision to make the film.
And since that day until the day, you said, okay, this is the film, um, I'm sure it was very emotional. We've seen this ourselves in the film. But even for you, to your mom, to the family, like how was it for you, like step by step, like it's a long journey, of course, since 2017 until now. but also like we all know how does films work, you know? Like you
Mhm.
work a lot on a couple of weeks and then maybe you have to leave it alone for a couple of other weeks. So how was the process for you to make the film?
I think it was, I mean, because it was my first one, it was truly baptism by fire. And I was very lucky in that I was in graduate school at the time. So I was able to go back to school and let the professors know what it was that I needed to do and wanted to do. I was enrolled at UCLA to get my Master of Fine Arts in Theater. And I started talking to all the documentary professors and said, please, can I take your classes? And two professors in particular really shepherded my experience and helped me prepare for my first shoot, which was about 6 months later. So it was honestly baptism by fire. And my first shoot was probably the hardest shoot of all because it was at Yad Vashem, which is the World Holocaust Remembrance Center in Jerusalem. And it was for the ceremony that was the unveiling of the granite wall that has Arthur and Paula Schmidt's name on it. So this was not a shoot that I had any control over whatsoever. This was they do events there, multiple events a day, several days a week, several, every month of the year. And so I was a guest at their party, and had to make sure that my film crew and I were able to capture what we needed to capture. So I didn't get to yell rolling or cut, or I was not in charge of anything. So we were really lucky that we got to begin with such a finite piece of shooting that kind of became, I guess, a benchmark for the rest of all of our shoots. And it taught me so much. I think the first year of filming, we were still really in proof of concept for quite a while. I didn't know if I had a short, I didn't know if I had a feature. And I wasn't even really thinking about the commercial aspect of any of it. I just knew that I had to get the story. And if the story lived in my family's VHS pile for the rest of our lives, honestly, that would have been enough. Like that's just, I just had to document the story. I had to find out the answers. And it mushroomed and snowballed. And the more we discovered in the archives and in the research and in all of the subsequent shoots, it just became very clear that the story was so much bigger than my family and even bigger than the Schmitz family. It became a very universal story of displacement and refugees and persecution in a way that we felt it was very global and universal. And so when you ask me about the journey, each shoot, each piece of development was truly a genuine discovery. Like, oh my gosh, there's more. Oh, there's more. There's more. And so we just kept going.
Yeah, I think this is really like every time I was, reaching some information in the film or something, it was like, oh wow. And then you think that you wouldn't imagine what you are going through and what it's coming up even more and more. Even to the last second of the film, it was like still, like it's surprising you in a like because we all hungry to know more, we want to know more, but like you wouldn't think you would find out all of this information, which was really amazing. Um, the picture of the family in the newspaper,
Mm.
did you know this from the beginning? How did you came across this point in the film?
We did. So I think the first time we saw the photograph, well, okay, yeah. And you're talking about that iconic photo of the seven of them standing in New York Harbor, uh, and they're in front of a white picket
Yeah.
fence. They've just arrived. It's May 20th, 1946. They've just disembarked from the SS Marine Flasher, and they've come over from Germany. And here they are, seven orphans now in America. And this photo hangs in the last gallery of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. And the museum opened in 1994. And my uncle Alphonse, the eldest of the siblings, was living in the DC area and wanted to tour the museum. So he starts on the third floor, as you do, and he winds his way down to the last gallery, and he came face to face with a photograph of himself. So this is the first time we rediscovered the photo. I am sure that the family was aware of the photo back in 1946, but
Yeah.
you know, who knows what happens after that?
Yeah.
You move on. And so that became really kind of a call to action for my uncle to begin to dig a little bit deeper. Then I would say in 1997 is when The Long Way Home, the remarkable film by Mark Harris and Kate Amend was editor. Mark directed it. But my mother was in a movie theater in our hometown of Wilmette, Illinois, and saw The Long Way Home at the movie theater, and then all of a sudden saw the newsreel clip of herself, and she screamed in the theater because she recognized everybody. So that's the first time we saw the film clip. And this these things just kind of became part of our family's lore and legacy, part of our family's story, but none of us were really going to do anything with it or do anything about it. And then, of course, when I decided to make the film, that was absolutely the first piece of journalism that I went to begin my archival research and to try and really dig deeper into, okay, well, what else is there? And I've since discovered they're in a couple other films as well. That clip is used frequently because it's, it's so
Yeah.
remarkable that 7 of them survived together. They're the only family of 7 known to have survived together and emigrated together, at least according to the Holocaust Museum in DC.
Yeah. I loved so much also how Ruth, like your mom was also, like you see her while you're searching. And it wasn't just, you went off with this trying to do everything by yourself and you come back to them. It was like she was all the way. Um, when you finished the film totally, like how was the first time when they've sat down and they've seen the whole thing together?
I showed it to the family. So they've seen it several times, but the very, very first time that I allowed anyone to see any footage of what I was doing, because they all knew what I was doing, but I didn't let anybody even get a glimpse of whatever.
Yeah.
And our family, as you see in the film, likes to celebrate the anniversary of their emigration. So we see in the film the 40th anniversary. We don't have footage of the 50th anniversary, even though that was like a big, we didn't film it. That was a big family gathering. The 40th anniversary was small, just the siblings and a few children, but the 50th anniversary was about almost all 72 of us. I mean, we just all showed up for that. And at the time, my uncle Alphonse had written this 40-page document called A Brief History of the Weber Siblings. And he wrote it really just for the family, not to be published or anything, but that was kind of the roadmap that we really were following. So by the time we got to I had a cut of the film. The film wasn't finished, but it was the 75th anniversary of their emigration. And I felt that I had to mark the occasion of the 75th anniversary. So this wonderful theater owner in Chicago, the Logan Theater, hosted us for a screening, and we showed a rough cut. And we had a lot of press actually at that event. No, the press wasn't invited to the movie. They weren't allowed to see the movie, but they actually covered the 75th anniversary event. And at the time when they saw the rough cut, we didn't have our original music yet. Our composer Jonathan Snipes is so brilliant and wonderful, but we were still using all temp tracks. We were still using all temp
Yeah.
voiceover. And then we also didn't have any of our animation in there. So the family still took it all in and they loved it and they had this wonderful response to it. But I'll fast forward to something that I think is at the heart potentially of your question, which is when we then did have a final cut, which was about a year and a half later. And we went back to the Logan Theater and they hosted us again for a screening. And the whole family came. My Aunt Ruth declined to come. And she came to the party afterwards because she wanted to be with the whole family, but she knew she wasn't able to sit through the film. What she had seen in the rough cut was enough. And
Yeah.
of course, we wanted her to see the animation, particularly because so many of her animations of the film are so iconic in the movie theater, when she brings my mom to the movies, when she's on the bicycle. These are things that, for me, as her niece and as a filmmaker, I wanted to get so perfectly right for her approval. And then she didn't see them. But that's okay, because it's more important for me that she was able to sleep easier at night and not have all the memories jogged. And I think somewhere deep in my soul, I know that she would have been very happy with the outcome of the animation.
Yeah, I think this is really important now at this time because, like we are going in a very tough time in the world and it's going tougher and tougher. Our responsibility as a filmmaker is definitely, to make people who are telling the story in our films to be like happy, satisfied, and also, like this is what they were like. We have to get the approval. However, I think, yeah, in so many places, unfortunately, uh, there's no way you can get that, or you don't even want to push to get that. So I think this is really important conversation because it is going a lot in many films now.
Mhm.
But I'm so glad, that like just being there for her after the film, even if she didn't sit down through the film, that's consent, like she trusts you. And this is again, I think another conversation as well, which is also very important. Like, who are telling the story and why we telling the story, and the fact that you are a member of this family. Uh, like this access and this responsibility at the same time, it puts you in a different situation. Um, like how do you feel now about you've done this. I know you're so tired with everything that's going on, but the film is being out there. So many people have seen it. So many people still will see it more and more. How do you feel about this? I know
I
it's
feel,
heavy feeling, but
yeah, no. I actually feel that it's been a privilege and an honor to have a story that is so personal to me and to us, that it's resonating on a very global level with so many people, refugees in particular. People feel like this story represents their family's refugee story or immigration story. And in a sad way, we've become more relevant every single day because of what's happening in the world right now, and particularly in my country. What's happening with ICE here today in America is absolutely terrifying. And my poor mother is sitting in her apartment witnessing what's happening in the city of Chicago, and seeing smoke bombs and seeing ICE trucks, and she just can't believe that this is happening over and over again. So it's something that I feel that as a filmmaker, as a journalist, as life reflects art and art reflects life. And how is it that we are actually meeting this moment with such clarity and precision? And what I do feel very, very good about as a filmmaker is that our story hinges on hope. Hope is the antidote to all of this madness that's happening in the world, whether it's in Chicago, America, or globally. And without hope, why do we step outside of our door, So I feel very good that really my fullest expression, which is the film, has an opportunity to give a modicum of healing to anyone, to anyone who is open to having their hearts healed, with the promise that maybe one day there will be hope and healing and partnership and uh, you know good neighborly behavior and friendship, community. These are the things
yeah.
that right now are so fleeting in our worlds of computers and AI and here we are on laptops. We're not sitting side by side. And so that's wonderful that we can have this conversation this way. But at the same time, we're also hungry for community and connection.
Yeah. I know we don't have a lot of time, so I will end up now by like I think one of the sentence that really touched me in the film when I think one of your young members of your family was saying that by saving these 7 people, you saved like 72 lives.
Yeah.
I think we all can do better. We all have to do better. And again, what this world is going through is unbelievable. And like we have to learn from the past. We have to learn from what's going on right now in so
Yes.
many places. We have
Yes.
to do better. What is what do you want to just end up with? Like anything? You have the microphone now. Like tell me.
I mean, I can only share what I'm doing for myself regarding this particular moment in history and this moment in time because it is so fractured. We are so divided. And in this world of social media and even the news, we're being told what to think constantly on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, minute by minute. And we, as human beings, have this extraordinary organ in our bodies called our brains. We must use our brains for critical thought. We must use our brains to really understand what it is that we're hearing and seeing, but even more importantly, what we're feeling. And I have a very deep, deep spiritual practice that, I meditate every morning. I do breath work in the morning. I journal in the morning. And the purpose of this for me is always just to connect to source, connect to source, connect to source. What is true around me that has nothing to do with how I identify with the story at hand? Can I take my identity? Can I take my ego out of it and just look at the facts of what's happening right in front of me? And if I'm truly connected to source, like why I was born, why I'm walking on this planet, then I can actually have a much better chance at empathy and compassion for other people who I may not agree with, and be someone that can be a better listener. And also at the same time, hopefully lead with softness and vulnerability so that somebody else might consider listening to me as well.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I hope really we can learn a lot from Unbroken, from everything is going inside us as well. And yeah, we have to do better for sure. Um, Thank you so much for making the film, for
Oh,
opening up this amazing story to the world, and for being a friend. Really
wow.
nice to talk to you.
It's wonderful being with you, Waad. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me.
Thank you.
Have a
Have
beautiful
a
day.
lovely day. Bye bye.
Bye.